Hi everyone. So I haven't been speaking about books in a very long time. So I wanted to finally do a little review of this book. So it's the story of mathematics from creating the pyramids to exploring infinity by Anne Rooney. I hope I'm pronouncing the names right because that's my big issue. Sometimes I don't. So I've read this book last year, and then this year I've reread specific chapters from it, and I really loved it. So I'm gonna go with the back of the book first, very quickly. So first thing, we have a quote by Galileo. In order to understand the universe, you must know the language in which it is written, and that language is mathematics. So I do love that quote a lot. Then about the book a bit, so we have, for hundreds of thousands of years, we have sought order in the apparent chaos of the universe. Mathematics has been our most valuable tool in that search, uncovering the patterns and rules that govern our world and beyond. The story of mathematics traces humankind's greatest achievements, plotting a journey from innumerate cave dwellers through the towering mathematical intellects of the last 4,000 years to where we stand today. Topics include counting and measuring from the earliest times, the ancient Egyptians in geometry, working out the movement of the planets, algebra, solid geometry, and the trigonometric tables, the first computers, how statistics came to rule our finances, impossible shapes and extra dimensions, measuring and mapping the world, chaos theory and fuzzy logic, set theory and the death of numbers. The fascinating personalities behind world-changing discoveries in mathematics are profiled, including, and it does give you quite a long list of great mathematicians. Also, it's beautifully illustrated throughout in full color. Now, I'm not bothered that much with the full color or not, but I'm just gonna give you a bit of a glimpse of how it looks like from the back. So this is exactly the last chapter, and I do appreciate the illustrations. They do make it look a bit more nicer, and I think it's just a bit more fun to read, to be fair, just because it has so many great graphs, and I do appreciate these things. They do make it a bit more easier to understand when it's explained in a graphical form or a diagram or things like that. I think it's a bit more easier to understand little things like these ones over here, because this is the area of this shape, and then it explains an algebraic expression over here. So I do think this is very important that it has this type of diagrams and different graphs, even like lovely pictures, because it is a book mostly related to the history of mathematics. So I find it very important that you get photos of important instruments or like mathematicians and stuff like that. I do think that's very important. So I'm gonna go a bit faster, and it does look very beautiful if you ask me. So this is the first page. It starts like this. Now, I do want to mention that this book was written, or I think it was first published in 2008, and the edition I read was published in 2009. So when it says at the back that it's up to today, you do have to bear in mind that it was 2008, 2009. So there are things that, if you're up to date with what's happening, they are a bit older. This is the contents table, and I do really like how the chapters are split. So for example, you have chapter 1 over here that's starting with numbers, and it starts at page 8, so that's why it says over there. And then it has many subchapters. Where do numbers come from? Numbers and bases, more numbers, big and small. So all of the chapters are split like that, and I think that's really cool, and it does help a bit with understanding what's in each chapter. Also, I'm gonna go with how each chapter is split. You always have an introduction over here, which I find so interesting. Like, it's written so nicely that it makes you curious for what's gonna be in the next chapter, and I think that's really important. And the chapters look like this, as you probably saw. They are nicely with little bits of information from time to time. Now I'm gonna go to the first 2 pages, and then I'm not gonna show that much of the book, so you actually get to experience the book yourself. All of the images have little descriptions about what they are underneath, which again is very important. What I found a bit hard in a book like this to read are these little inserts in the whole idea of the book, because the way you read, you go this way, this finishes here, which is fine, then you have the little insert, which you can read in this case, but then the second bit, it goes all the way up to here, and this insert is not really related to this. So sometimes in books like this, I find it a bit confusing. Like, do I read this when I finish this, or do I just continue, or do I read it before? When exactly in a book like that am I reading these little inserts? Now, by the time you get to the last chapter, I got way more used to this, and I could anticipate where I had to read different inserts, but it was a bit confusing at the end on how to read it in general, but it didn't take away from the enjoyment as a whole, because I was continuously finding new information and very interesting concepts, and I did totally enjoyed it. Now I kind of opened randomly the page. I do make little notes. I put like exclamation marks and question marks where I want to get extra. I do circle the information I want to find out more, different words that are important for me, the quotes that are like randomly put in the book that are like very important for the whole information on the page that I love. I do all of that. So that's how generally I read. So if you open a book randomly and you see a lot of things written on the sides, for me that means I was over the moon, overexcited. I really want to find out more, and this book did this for me. It has little bits all over, but all of that little information, it just made me want to do more research by myself to find out more about that specific concept, or find out more about the history behind how that concept came about. And I think this is incredible, especially the fact that I finished it last year, and at the start of this year I wanted to go back to just remind myself about different concepts and stuff, and then do some of my own research on that. So I think it's a great book if you can do this. It's great. The vocabulary was not over the top. It's very easy to understand. Even the mathematical topics in here, it just take a very historical view around it. So all of the little bits are explained in a very easy to understand, and with, as you saw, different images and graphics and diagrams and all of that thing. So it is very easy to understand, and it gives you such a great view of the whole development of mathematics, and I loved it, and I totally recommend it. I think it is great, and it's short, so you also don't need to read all of it in one go. You can just focus on one chapter, read one chapter, leave it on the side for months, and then you can go to the second chapter and you will find out something new and interesting. So I do like this bit. They're obviously, because they're kind of like chronological, there is a bit of connection with the previous chapter, but if you left it on the side and you read it later, absolutely no issues. So I totally recommend it if you haven't already. And if you know of any books similar to this one that kind of follow the same idea, please recommend them in the comments down below, because I would really love to read something similar. Obviously, it doesn't have to be so specific on the historical part, but it can follow different aspects. But I did enjoy it. I found it very interesting, even entertaining, and the way it was presented was so easy to understand that it was just a breeze to go through. So yeah, totally recommended, and that's kind of it. So I hope by doing this little video that will make me more excited to do even more videos about books, because I quite miss this, to be fair. So yeah, I will speak to you soon. Have a lovely day and a lovely week, and enjoy. Bye.